The ocean is not unfair, it is strict. 5 submarines, 5 chains of failure, 5 human responses, some heroic, some tragic. Let's go under the surface. Provincetown, Massachusetts. Routine trials. A measured mile. A submarine running submerged to test her handling. At the same time, the Coast Guard destroyer Paulding charges toward harbor at 18 knots, chasing rum runners. 3:37 p.m. A faint ripple on Paulding's port bow, a periscope wake. Orders snap. Back emergency, hard right. Not enough sea, not enough seconds. Impact. The destroyer's bow tears 2 wounds in the hull. S4 drops to the bottom 100 feet down, almost within shouting distance of the beach. 40 men are aboard. 34 survive the hit. 6 end up sealed in the forward torpedo room. Morning brings divers and a heartbeat of hope. Thomas Edey wraps the loading hatch. 6 slow taps answer. Alive. Then the weather turns cruel. A nor'easter shreds the bay. Lines foul. Visibility collapses. Fatigue piles on fatigue. Inside the torpedo room, 25-year-old Lieutenant Graham Fitch and his men lie between 2 torpedoes, wrapped in blankets. They breathe slowly. They count minutes and listen for help in the dark. A diver's airline fouls at 8:45 that night. Edey, already exhausted, goes back down to save his friend. Days stretch, hopes thin. By December 22nd, the taps are gone. All 40 are confirmed dead. The 6 in the torpedo room lasted nearly 3 days, close enough to hear rescue, not close enough to live. The failure came from collision geometry in seconds that would not stretch. The legacy was harder procedures, better rescue gear, and a Navy newly serious about shallow water saves. Taiwan Strait, near Turnabout Island. Tang, under Commander Richard O'Kane, has been sinking ships for 2 days. 22 torpedoes fired, 21 hits, 1 transport still limping. 2:30 A.M. Tang fires number 23. Hot, straight, normal. A clean detonation. 1 fish left. A Mark 18 electric, depth set to 10 feet, close range. It looks true, then it broaches, porpoises, and hooks into a tight circle. Order. Emergency speed. Rudder hard over. The circle is smaller than the ocean. 20 seconds later, Tang takes her own torpedo in the stern. Aft compartments flood. The boat drops to 180 feet. 9 men are on the bridge, O'Kane among them. They are thrown into black water. Below, some try Momsen lungs. Cold decides faster than training. Of 87 men, 9 survive. Japanese escorts pull them from the sea. A perfect patrol, erased by a perfect circle. The chain of failure was simple and brutal. A torpedo that lost guidance and turned predator. What remains is the lesson: chase success, but never forget tail risk. North Atlantic, 680 miles, northeast of Bermuda. Soviet ballistic missile sub K-219. 15 years old. 16 nuclear-tipped missiles. 119 crew. Late afternoon. Seawater seeps into missile tube 6. Water meets leftover propellant. Chemistry meets oxygen. Heat loves both. 5:14 p.m. The missile explodes. 3 sailors die instantly. Toxic fumes spread through the boat. The captain scrams the reactor and surfaces. Good first move. New problem: temperatures in the twin reactors keep climbing. Automatic shutdown systems are damaged. Someone must crank the control rods by hand. Lieutenant Nikolai Belikov volunteers. So does 20-year-old Sergei Preminin. They enter the reactor space. Over 70 degrees Celsius. Masks on, time short. Belikov lowers 3 out of 4 rod assemblies and collapses. Preminin drags him out, then turns back for the last rod. Alone, he muscles it down. Meltdown averted. The ship still lives. On the way out, physics intervenes. A pressure differential pins the hatch shut. Shipmates yank at the door. His oxygen runs out. Preminin dies in the compartment he just saved. K-219 sinks 3 days later, but not in a nuclear fireball, because 1 sailor finished the job. The failure came from bad seals, hazardous residues, and crippled controls. What endures is character, hands-on skill, physical courage, and choosing discipline over panic. Norwegian Sea, 112 miles southwest of Bear Island. K-278 Komsomolets titanium hull, record dives beyond 3,300 feet, sails her first real patrol. 10:55 a.m. Power wobbles. Minutes later, fire erupts in compartment 7. A high-pressure airline ruptures. Oil sprays a hot turbine. 50 plus megapascals of compressed air feed the flames like a bellows. Smoke threads through cable penetrations. The reactor scrams. Propulsion dies. Emergency blow. 11 minutes from ignition to daylight. She surfaces wounded, but up. Most of the crew crowds the deck. The captain and 5 officers stay inside to fight the ship. Hours pass. Fire keeps eating. Compressed air keeps feeding it. 4:30 p.m. The boat begins to settle. Abandoned ship. There's one more gamble. An escape sphere in the sail. 5 men climb in. The ascent charges. A flawed mechanism explodes the hatch on surfacing. 2 die instantly. The survivors are stunned. 1 swims free. On the open water, 50 sailors wait. Rescue takes more than an hour. The cold keeps perfect time. 34 die of hypothermia. Total loss, 42 of 69. The failure was not depth. It was fire, air isolation, and emergency sequences that broke under stress. A record dive number never puts out a flame. Damage control does. Barents Sea, Russian waters. Special mission sub AS-12 Losharik. 7 spherical titanium compartments strung like beads. A crew of elites, 7 captains of first rank on board. Around 8:30 p.m., at roughly 1,000 feet, an electrical short hits the battery compartment. Lithium-ion cells promise high energy. When angry, they give it back as fire. Flames grow, smoke spreads. The crew dons breathing gear and fights for 40 minutes. Oxygen dwindles. They request to evacuate through the mothership alongside. A 4-man rescue team boards to help. They save 1 civilian specialist. Then the battery space explodes. Blast and smoke overpower the remaining crew and the rescue team. Near 9:30 p.m., fishermen report a submarine rocketing to the surface. Losharik is towed to base. 5 survive with smoke injuries and concussions. 14 are dead, buried with honors, questions still smoldering. The failure was thermal runaway and weak isolation between energy and people. Modern truth. Storage at sea is a gift until it becomes a grenade. North Atlantic. Target depth, 12,500 feet. The Titanic's debris field. Civilian submersible Titan carries 5. Pilot Stockton Rush. Expert Paul Henry Nargile, Hamish Harding, Shahzada Dawood, and his 19-year-old son, Suleiman. Launch is 8 a.m. From Polar Prince, Titan is not conventional. A carbon fiber pressure cylinder with titanium end caps, piloted by a modified game controller, operated outside the usual certification lanes. Engineers had raised red flags, fatigue, test margins, oversight. Confidence answered those flags. Confidence is not a pressure vessel. Descent begins smoothly. 30 minutes in, communications drop. It has happened before. They resume later. At 1 hour 33 minutes, Titan sends a final message. 2 descent weights jettisoned. 6 seconds later, an automated ping. Then, silence. The surface waits. The world counts oxygen against hope. 4 days of search assets converge on a square of ocean. June 22nd, an ROV finds a debris field 1,600 feet from Titanic's bow. Acoustic data points to a brief, violent event when comms ceased. The carbon composite likely failed past its fatigue limit. Implosion takes milliseconds. There is no time to register fear, no time to speak. The failure was margin, materials discipline, and a safety culture that did not hold the line. The lesson is simple. The deep sea accepts only engineering that proves itself every minute. 5 boats, 5 different ways to be tested. Collision, a torpedo's perfect circle. Chemistry turned hostile. Fire fed by pressure. Batteries that burned like cutting torches. In each story, the ocean enforced the rules we wrote, but did not follow. The sea is strict. We either match it with discipline, or we don't come back. If you want more stories decoded like this, subscribe and tell us what to dive into next.